Hi there, my name is Piper Post, and this is Porn Apart. On the show today, we will hear the story of a wounded wife who is doing great in her recovery from her husband's porn addiction. She will also tell us about her journey to recovery after her husband had an affair. You do not want to miss this. This show, Porn Apart, is just one part of the ministry, Explicit Restoration, where my husband David and I are seeking to uplift and encourage and support couples who have been affected by pornography addiction. We want you to know that you are not alone. Recovery is possible, both for the addict who's dealing with pornography and for the spouse who is dealing with the trauma of the betrayal. We are here to serve you, and we want to see your marriage restored. You can learn more about our ministry at explicitrestoration.com. Now grab a warm beverage, sit back, relax, and listen in to the amazing story of Gwyn Mais of Still Waters Coaching. I'm so excited today because we have Gwyn Mais, who is a new friend of mine. And Gwyn is a life coach like me, and we both do a specific type of recovery coaching for wives. And so I was really excited to bring her on here today. I actually had a friend that said, Piper, why would you want to bring somebody else that does what you do? Because aren't they like competition for you? And I said, absolutely not. I want her because there are so many wives and so many marriages affected by betrayal. And I think we need as many Jesus loving, Jesus following coaches out there because this is such a mammoth thing. Gwen, I'm so glad that you are doing this and doing this work, and so glad that you're here. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you online?
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to share what I do. And I absolutely love what you do as well. And I feel like it works so hand in hand. So I'm glad that we're working together in some regard. What I do is help women specifically with deep betrayals and more specifically, affairs. That is what my bread and butter is. I've had very similar experiences. And so it's one of those things that I feel very led and called to be in this specific area. And so, if you want to get more information for my services, I have a website, stillwaterscoaching.life, and you can get all my information there. I have my social medias plugged in there as well. And so, I would love to speak with you if you're going through something similar to that.
Thank you. I know that you also have a Facebook group too, because I'm on the Facebook group, and I really encourage you listeners to go check it out. It's called Wounded Wives. And the interesting thing about Gwen's group is that she focuses in, like she said, about marriages that have suffered an affair and is that deal with a pornography addiction, which is what my bread and butter is, also have an affair as a part of their experience. And so please go join Gwen's group and check her stuff out. And we're going to be learning a little bit more about her and her story here in just a minute. But I just wanted to say there's just power in hearing different perspectives. And I really encourage you to go. Gwen, how did you get into coaching, and what was this like? What was the story that led you to that? Were you coached, or tell us how you got there and how your faith led you there?
Yeah, so coaching found me. I did not seek it. It was not something that I had on my radar at all. I didn't even know what life coaching was. So I feel very much like the Lord brought me there and asked me and called me into this. I had been through 14 years of trauma and carrying all that trauma and baggage with me, including pornography with my husband. And so that was a time period that I was just exhausted from. And I came to the Lord with this baggage and this trauma. And I just handed it over to him. And he gently reminded me that it's his job to heal me. And so once he healed me of all of that, he immediately called me into coaching. And I was like, this is perfect. Like it just felt, it fit so well into what my heart was and what God had created me for. And so it just was something that he brought to my radar after this point, and it just happened. And I got into a 6-month program. It was a godly program, and I got certified as a Christian life coach.
Wow, that is so cool. And I totally understand. Like, it was through my own experience that God led me to be able to help others. And that's such an important part of recovery for so many people, even if you never do it formally, where, you have coaching ministry, but just by coming alongside other people, like that becomes a really important part of your own healing. So we share that. Our lives, our experiences parallel each other in that. You mentioned that you went through many years of trauma, and I'm assuming that maybe there was an affair in your experience there too. Can you share more about that and your experience with your husband, and then how you personally recovered through that?
Yeah, with the 14 years of trauma, it was starting, a lot of it had to do with suicide. And so it started with a really close family member of mine that attempted suicide and took 271 Tylenol and didn't tell anybody for 3 days. And I just was beside myself. I was like, what is going on? Like, my whole world at 18 years old when I found this out just stopped. It just shook my whole world. And I just thought, how could somebody go through so much pain and be so upset about things and hurting that they would want to leave this world? So that was the beginning of my trauma. This person actually survived and is doing well, didn't even have to have a liver transplant, which is miraculous. And it was a very much a God thing. However, I didn't know how to navigate the aftermath of everything. I didn't know how to navigate my emotions. I didn't know what to do with any of that. So I just kind of stuck it in my bag and I kept moving forward. So I attribute all of this trauma that I didn't know what to do with as this weight that I carried, and I just kept adding to it. Shortly after that, I had gotten married and we lost a couple of pregnancies to miscarriage. And so that was another several traumas in a row that I was just like, what am I supposed to do with this thing that happened and the emotions that go with it? And I just stuck it in my bag and kept going. I'm like, I'm a strong woman. And I think in the world, we attribute strong women as someone that can just keep going. And that doesn't necessarily make you strong. And so I didn't realize that this was taking a toll on me. And so we keep going down the road, and my husband had been deployed, and I was sexually assaulted while he was deployed by his stepfather. And so it was almost like a double trauma because I was dealing with that and also dealing with the deployment and dealing with family issues, because I'm like, how do I deal with what happened and still be around family and still not cause issues in their marriage? And that was a struggle as well. And I remember finding myself not wanting to be the cause of divorce.
Mm.
So I just prayed, I blessed him, I forgave him, and I moved on. But I didn't deal with what had happened in the right way. I didn't handle the emotions. I didn't deal with the emotions. I just did what I was told is like in church, we're supposed to forgive and forget and move on. And so I kept going and thinking I'm doing the right things all along. And God was still talking with me and trying to teach me things all along the way, which I did learn a lot, but I still didn't quite grasp that emotions. And so then I lost a friend of mine to suicide. And that was a hard blow because I was like, whoa, someone else dealt with that close to me. And then I was just like, this is not okay. Like, I can't just not do anything. So I started going into volunteering with the suicide hotline, and I did that for a while. And so moving forward, I still had that emotions that I didn't know what to do with and deal with. I was learning a little bit more about it through the suicide hotline. And then I found out about my husband's pornography addiction. He came forward with that. So that was a big blow. And I was like, oh my word. And at the time that he came forward, I was like, well, why are you telling me this? And he said, I called a girl to my room. And at that point, nothing happened. So he came forward with everything. He was like, nothing happened. I realized what I did wrong and I wanted to explain this to you. And I prayed about it and I felt led to tell you everything, come clean. So that was a point in our marriage that we were like, okay, we've got to reassess. We've got to figure this out and move forward and figure out how to do this. Again, I didn't deal with the emotions of it in the right way. I was trying to work things out and we did move forward to some degree, but it just kind of lingered there. And it was a long period of time that we just went through this and I didn't know what to do. And years later, I'm like, how can I still have issues with this? And it was because of the emotions, which is a huge, huge thing that I just didn't quite grasp and understand. So moving forward, I found myself called to go into the military. So I went into the military and I met one of my really good friends day one. And she's a lot younger than me. So I took her under my wing and I was talking with her, helping her to grow and in her walk with God as well. And just we had similar stories. She came in the same day that I did. We left for basic training around the same time, within weeks of each other. We met at basic training. I saw her there. I saw her at our tech school training. And so we met up again, and then we met up again when we got back to the base that we were training at. So we had this awesome relationship where we just had so many similarities and we were going through the same thing at the same time. And I was encouraging her. And then one day I came to work and found out that she wasn't there that day. And she wasn't there because she had took her life. And again, suicide popped up in my world. And I wasn't really sure what to do with all of this, but this was the day that I just broke. It was just like the levee broke and everything happened. And all of my pain and all of the stuff from my past, because I hadn't processed it in the right way, that's when everything came forward. And I found myself on my knees in front of God. And I was like, it's too much. My heart is shattered in 1,000 pieces, 1,000,000 pieces on the floor. I can't possibly try to pick those up. And he stopped me very gently. And he was like, who asked you to pick up the pieces? That's my job. So that was the end of my 14 years of trauma that I didn't process. And God showed me how to process all of that. And he healed me completely of everything. Moving forward after that is when I was called into coaching. And then a couple of years after, I guess it was called into coaching. And then 2 years later, I guess I've been coaching for about 3 years now, but 2 years later is when we decided to move to Florida. And we moved to Florida, and there was a 3-week period when we got down there that we found out we lost everything in the move. So we lost all of our belongings. I just lost my full-time job because I had just gotten a full-time job. It was a great job. And then they said, oh, we don't actually need your position anymore. So I lost my job. I started having some health issues. And then my husband did confess to an affair and asked me for a divorce. So this all happened within 3 weeks of each other. And I was in Tampa, Florida, in an empty house on my knees, praising God and saying, God, you know what? You have healed me from my past, and I can walk through this, and I can do it joyfully, and I can process it in the right way, and it will not be trauma for me. And so I felt, oddly enough, everybody looking from the outside in thought I was crazy, because I was confidently and happily moving forward with the joy of the Lord. But also, on top of that, I was processing my emotions, was having those emotions, and it's okay to have them. And I did that in a way that just helped me to not take it as trauma, not put it in that bag and carry it with me, but to leave it there and let God heal and let God work. And So that is, in a nutshell, the majority of my story. And so that's when I felt very called, especially more recently, to help women through affairs. And it's very near and dear to my heart because I felt for those 14 years and for the time that I was going through the affair, there is not that many resources out there for
Mm.
women that are going through this, especially not that many godly resources. And so to have that godly perspective and say, it's okay to have feelings, it's okay
Mhm.
to feel whatever you're feeling, but what you do with it is important. To have that is just pivotal for women in this space. And God created me with this heart to just walk alongside women and to advocate for them. And I didn't have an advocate the entire time I was going through all of these things. And so it's a joy and a passion of mine to be able to be that person for them, to root them on,
Mm.
to help them where they're at, to stand with them if they want to stand for their marriage. And not a lot of people encourage that, especially after an affair. People are like, oh, affair
Yeah.
equals divorce. So that's what I do. That's why I do it. And that's where God brought me to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Praise the Lord for that. What I find really interesting about your story is that you said, like, at the beginning, the whole time that you were just not, or I guess not the beginning, for 14 years, you were not dealing with your emotions. You were just pushing forward, marching on, which very often is, I feel like, what we are told to do.
Mhm.
Just trust Jesus and move forward. And it
Yeah.
sounds like good advice, right? Like,
Yes.
it sounds, yeah, God can handle it. Just forgive and forget and whatever.
Yeah.
But so what people were seeing on the outside of you probably was that, like, wow, she's handling like a lot of stuff really well, but on the inside you are not
Mhm.
handling it at all. And then
Right.
later on, when you learned how to do that, it probably looked like the same thing on the outside. You were trusting Jesus and carrying on, except on the inside is where everything different was happening for
Yes.
you. So I think that's really beautiful. And it's a really beautiful image of the cross. And I love your analogy, the luggage, the baggage. And it's like you're just laying it at the foot of the cross.
Yeah.
And like so many times, like old pastors would say, leave your luggage at the door. Like basically, they're trying to say, don't let stuff distract you when you're coming here to hear this sermon or message or whatever. But really, we need to bring that luggage in to the
Mhm.
person that can really deal with it.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that so much. You mentioned you had kids.
Yes.
So tell me about your kids. And I want to hear, what is your relationship like with your husband now? And where, like, how have you guys healed and where have you guys come?
Yeah. So I have two beautiful daughters. I have a 15-year-old now. I cannot believe that I have a 15-year-old now, and a 11-year-old. And we're blessed with those two beautiful daughters. And my husband and I, we have grown so much since everything has happened. God just completely turned everything around, and we are in a much better place. We are in a much healthier place.
Mhm.
We're learning to grow together and communicate more, learning to understand each other's feelings and where things are coming from, and listening more to each other. And we had to learn and understand the root of what was causing all that had happened before we
Mhm.
could move forward. So once we did that, we just got to this, like, just much healthier place now. So I feel extremely happy to be where we are at. And I feel like he is in a much happier place now as well. And we're getting ready, hopefully, to move back to Florida very soon. So we're both really excited about that.
Okay, so how does he support you in your ministry? Does I'm assuming he knows that you're a
Mhm.
coach and that you share with other people that he's had an affair. That is a big thing that people are always surprised about my husband and I, that he's willing to
Mhm.
share about his long-term porn addiction. And so I don't know, what was that like? How did he come to terms with that?
We talked about it a lot because I was concerned about a lot of different aspects of this. Like nowadays on social media, if you post something or you talk about something, you could have issues with your work.
Yes.
It seems so silly to me, but there are some things that like are affected by your job now. So I was very cautious at first as to how we put this out there. But I'm being way more open about it now and talking to a lot more people and just advertising it where God leads to advertise it. And I'm okay with it. And he feels okay with it. He's happy that it can help the business, it can help the ministry grow. And so we felt like we were very much on the same page as far as that goes. And I think it helped that we had been through a similar road before with the pornography and things like that. And we did it completely differently. Then we like only told like a couple of people, and it felt very isolating for me. And so this time around, I was like, I'm not going to be isolated. Like, I can't do that. And so that was part of our conversations with him, is that I don't want this to affect me so much that I can't reach out to others. I can't talk about this with other people. So this time around, we also made a few mistakes by telling too many people. So we learned a few things here. And because going through it, it's great that we can now talk about it and be open with people and help other people with it. But going through it, that's one of those things that I would not tell as many people. You don't have to be
Mm-hmm.
isolated, but you also don't have to tell everybody. So yeah, so that's where we're at right now.
Cool. I love it. That really shows evidence of a renewed heart, his renewed heart, your renewed heart, and your renewed marriage. Just that you're able to say what you walked through and how Jesus redeemed you and restored your marriage. I'm all about that. I love that. And I know that is what you are hopeful for with all of the clients that you work with and the ladies that you minister to. So tell me like some of your favorite parts about that work. And if you want to also share a little bit more about your Facebook group, and I think you said at one time that you have a course coming up, share about all that stuff.
Yes, my favorite things about coaching, I feel like it is a privilege to walk alongside these ladies, to have them open up in such a personal way to me with their story and what they are going through and these personal emotions that's happening. It's just such a privilege and honor to work with them. So I love that part of it. But my favorite part is when I feel like I always think of coaching as like I'm just sitting there on the sidelines of a game and I'm like cheering them on and watching what's happening. And that's one of my favorite parts, is just seeing the
Mm,
work that God is doing within their lives and seeing the transformation happen in front of me. And it is beyond a privilege for me to see that. Like, just to
mm,
be a part of someone else's life in this way is phenomenal, like just absolutely phenomenal. And I love it. I love every part of it. And but as far as my group and all of my coaching goes, I do have the group Wounded Wives, and I teach within that group about how to walk through this after an affair or a deep betrayal. Many times there's women that come to me and they're like, oh, I haven't had an affair, but I've had like X, Y, and Z going on or whatever. And they're also welcome in my group as well. It is open to anyone that is dealing with really deep wound from their marriage. And so I'm welcoming anybody, but I do focus a lot on affairs. And so I teach within that group, and we talk a lot about emotions, because I know with my story, we just talked about it. Emotions are huge. That's like the biggest piece for me within coaching, is to focus on the emotions and how to walk through them in the right way, in the biblical.
mhm,
And so I teach a lot about that in there. And I also have several courses. I have one course that focuses on trauma and stress. And so if you have not gone through an affair, then you can go through that course if it applies to you. But my favorite thing is my affair course, and it does deep betrayals or affairs, and it just walks through all of the steps that you need to walk through to start and begin the healing process and allow the Lord to come in and do that. And so that course focuses on a lot of different aspects, and also spiritual warfare, which is huge because I don't think the churches are teaching that enough. But I also will coach one on one in between the course so that you can apply what you're learning to your life, and it can stick better than just giving you a whole bunch of information and not knowing what to do with it. I do that, and I work very closely with my clients. So I have an app where we can talk regularly anytime that you need it, day or night. Assuming I'm not sleeping, I will probably respond within the next few hours. So I do that as well. So whenever you work with me, you are working extremely closely, and we will work on every little piece of everything that you need to be supported in whatever way that I can. And yeah, so if you are interested in any of that, I have the Wounded Wives group. I have my website, and it points to all of my social media and everything that I am doing currently.
Okay, I'm going to make sure that you share all of those again before we go. Just as a last question or a closing question, if people listening here are you're probably familiar with some of the things that I teach, and I'm just curious if you have some core message or what would be like the message that you would give to a wife who has heard that her husband has had an affair. Like for women who have dealt with their husband discovering that they are using pornography, one of the things I try to get across is that you can recover right now, even if your husband is still using. And the hard mindset, it's easy to get tied to the fact that they think that their husband has to stop using porn in order for them to feel better, and that's just not true. And that's just not the gospel of scripture. So I'm curious, what would be like that core thing that you would share with a woman who is listening or watching that is struggling with their husband's affair?
First of all, I would want to give you a hug because it's a lot to go through. It's a very emotional process. But the main thing, like I said, that I try to focus on is emotions. And one thing that I pulled from this entire process is just that your situation does not have to define how you feel. So
Mm,
that's
yeah.
huge. And I felt for 14 years that I had to feel really bad because of all the experiences that I had. My experiences equaled my mental health. And that doesn't apply. That's a lie from the enemy. And it's something that I like to untwist his lies. And that's what I
Hmm.
do within my group. That's what I do within the course. And the main core thing is just understanding you can work through emotions and still feel confident and still feel good and not have to feel like you're always on an emotional roller coaster and you have to feel horrible for 3 or 4 years before you can get over this thing that happened to you. So that's the biggest thing that I would say I help women with is just understanding that and moving forward in a new and fresh, confident way.
Amen. I love it. I love it. It's emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And so I love that. I'm going to go check your course out. It sounds so good. I really want to thank you so much for coming and being on here with me. Why don't you share all of your socials and your website and your group one more time before we close out?
Yes. My website will point to everything, but it's stillwaterscoaching.life. And I am on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I am on Facebook, and my group is Wounded Wives. And you will see in that group a picture of a woman on the front, and it talks about healing after an affair. I would love to have anybody that is going through something like that in the group. I'd love to pour into your life and help you in any way that I possibly can.
Yeah, and thank you. We'll put all of those also in the show notes for this episode. Thank you again, Gwen. It's been such an honor to have you here and hear your story. And I'm just so happy to have a friend like you that is battling
Mm.
alongside me here. So thanks, friend.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited that we got to chat.
Holy cow. I hope that you were given so much hope through hearing Gwen's story because you have a reason to hope, my friend. You can be restored, and so can your marriage. First, you've got to focus on you and Jesus and start taking your steps from there. Thanks again, Gwen, for being on the show. That's all for today. If you guys are interested in checking out our ministry, just go to explicitrestoration.com. And we have a free Facebook group for wives. Just search for Wives Porn Apart. As always, please remember that Jesus is the one who heals you, and he does it through a variety of ways, like his word, prayer, meditation, community, good food, movement, therapy, and rest. Bye, guys. See you next time.